We were at the property yesterday, and by the time you're seeing this, you probably already saw that video. We went down to the property, and all of our eggs sold out for the day that we had in there, and we were gone. And someone that lives in the area, they don't know me personally, but they know my dad. They called my dad. I guess they know where we live and know who lives there, I should say. And they called my dad asking for more eggs. He had bought some eggs and ran out, and he wanted to get some more, and we had sold out. And we had a couple dozen already that sold that day, I guess. So we were out of town. But this morning, they already sold. So we put 3 dozen in this morning, and we're down to 2 dozen right now. But they're selling great. The egg stand's working really well. We have very little money into it. Yeah, so it's nice. Is it like a really profitable business? No, but that's not, we're not trying to get rich off of it. Just trying to, you know, actually it's paying for the food cost, which is nice. You know, that'll pay for the cost of their food. So really we don't have anything into it, and we're just getting some eggs. So yeah, we're having fun with it. Love having chickens. The kids love it. Chickens are happy, and no issues so far. The egg stand's going really well. So my parents are currently on their way to Boonville, New York right now for the New York Woodsman Show, something like that. I might be saying that wrong. That might not be the name of it, but that's all right. And my dad told me to check something out, which as you see, it just came out the gate, so it's not too far. But he was coming through here this morning on the excavator, and down off the trail, thinks he saw chicken of the woods. So let me turn the camera on and see what you can see from the trail. That's what he saw. All right, I don't see anything yet. The house is right there to give you an idea of where we're at. With this camera, you probably won't be able to see because this is more wide. I would say the camera's more wide angle than the actual eye. But just keep our eyes peeled. That white snake root's coming in. Gonna be a lot of white flowers everywhere. This is all that white snake root. I still don't see where he's... There it is. That's gotta be it. Alright. I still don't know. Looking at the camera, I don't think I can see anything yet, but you'll see it here in a minute. With my eyes, I can see it very clearly. That's gotta be chicken of the woods. Because it's on a log. Yeah, ouch. Man, multiple rows is getting me good. Oh yeah, you can see it now on the camera. So, this is chicken of the woods. Oh yeah, and this is some pretty big one. They say it's better when it's younger. This one kind of looks a little older, but actually it feels alright, not too flimsy. So, the way I would like to start the video when talking about these mushrooms here is with a little disclaimer. And that should already become as no surprise that I'm not an expert, especially when it comes to mushrooms and foraging mushrooms. Not an expert, so do not take any of this as advice or as, you know, instruction on what to do. This is just me sharing what I've read. But again, don't take it as advice and go and eat something that you think is chicken of the woods, because I don't want anyone to get sick. So I mean, do your own research before you just take my advice for it, because I'm not an expert. I would hate to lead you astray and for you to get sick, because I'm not an expert on mushrooms. But that being said, there are not a lot of lookalikes that could harm you. I mean, there's definitely one, the jack-o'-lantern, that would make you sick. But there, I think after I go through what I'm going to go through, I think you will be confident enough to find it on your own after you do your own research again. Because again, I don't want you to pick something that is not chicken of the woods. So let's dive into this a little more. The name chicken of the woods comes from And a lot of mosquitoes down in here. I just got bit pretty good. So the name chicken of the woods comes from it being delicious, tasting like a chicken. Others have said it tastes like crab. I think some people even call it crab of the woods. I believe I read that on Wikipedia, is one of its names. So I've done quite a bit of research on this, just a lot of reading, really. And pretty much this video is just a collection of a bunch of different things I've read. The scientific name is Leatoporus. I'm trying to remember. Leatoporus sulphureus, something like that. I have it here on my phone. And either way, I'm probably saying it wrong, so really it doesn't even matter, but I'm trying. Leatoporus sulphureus. Might be incorrect, but that's the scientific name pronounced by Levi. And it's a bracket fungus. That's another cool thing about this. And it grows in shelf-like clusters, and I'll show you that. Let me turn this around. To help me prepare this video, well, I did a lot of reading, but to help me prepare, I kind of, on Google, whenever you search, say, just chicken of the woods, Google will then have like 4 questions that are commonly asked questions. So one of those was, what time of year can chicken of the woods be found? And really, from what I've read, and actually from what I've seen firsthand, is it's, I would say, like July to October, or maybe even more, August to October is a really good time of year to find it. But I have read of some people finding it in June or even May in some areas. So I guess it just depends on the log. I wouldn't even say the area, because from what I've read is it can vary from log to log. And so that means here in our area in western Pennsylvania, or even on our property, say, this is the only chicken of the woods I've seen so far this season. That doesn't mean that it's all in harvest season right now. It kind of seems to be based off of the log rather than the geographical location. So just because we're in this area, it doesn't mean that everywhere around us chicken of the woods is ready to harvest. It seems like it more so depends on the log, and that's because this is it's a woody fungus, I guess you would say. What I mean by that, that's not a technical term, but what I mean by that is that this grows, chicken of the woods is only growing on woody material, being logs, stumps, or even standing trees that are dead. But what it's doing is it's breaking down this log from the inside out, and it's causing like a brown rot, which then what that does is that is going to break this log down over time, and it's going to, that's really important, the breakdown of this log, because all of those nutrients, all of that organic material, this log itself is holding water, but as it breaks down, all of those good nutrients that are in this are going to then go back into the soil and keep this soil so good for the forest. From what I've read, it sounds like this can be found in a lot of places, from the US to Canada, as well as a lot of Europe and even some places in Asia. And the map, the range map I've seen for this in the US, it looks like it's a lot of the eastern United States, south, and then kind of like into Canada, and then like the Pacific Northwest. It doesn't look like there's any in the west or the southwest, and doesn't even look like there's a whole lot in like the Midwest. And that's, I think, just because it's more dry, a lot of those states. And although this isn't a fungus that needs lots of rain, but you can see where I'm at. It's kind of like a, it's a forest, and you have decaying logs. So there's not a lot of decaying logs in a forest. There's not forests like this in Arizona, I would say. They have definitely more coniferous forest in the mountains there, but not a hardwood forest like this. And that's important because chicken of the woods is only going to be growing, I shouldn't say only, from what I read, most commonly it's going to grow on hardwood trees such as oaks or cherries, but it can be found on coniferous trees as well. But I would use caution because I've read different reports or different opinions on this, but some people say never to eat it off of a coniferous tree, because those coniferous trees, conifers, they can have oils in them that the mushroom will absorb, which could make you sick. And so I would just stick to ones that are on hardwood trees, and this here is a hardwood, because that's all there is in this valley are hardwood trees. So keep that in mind. How can you identify chicken of the woods? That's a really common question on Google. Or how do I know if it's chicken of the woods? The first thing I would say is by its color. And it's very easy to spot from a distance. So to show you, my dad spotted this from that trail that's about 20 yards away. And he just happened to be bringing the excavator down. It's pretty steep there, so he was taking his time and just looking off the trail and was able to spot it down here in this valley. That color was a dead giveaway. From the trail, he wasn't positive, but he was pretty sure it was chicken of the woods. And not only because of the color, but because of the way it grows. So the color is important though, because it's going to be ranging from yellow to orange. And that's pretty much what this is all yellow and orange. And as it gets older, I think it can get more of like a tan or yellow, which you can see in the bigger ones here. It's starting to be more tan, more kind of more white almost. Whereas the younger seems to be darker, more of an orange. The other thing is you're going to find it on, which I already mentioned this, but you're going to find it on wood, on fallen logs, on stumps, or dead standing timber. The other way to tell is the underside of it will not have gills or any ridges, which, as we look here, what do we see? We see a whole lot of bugs, which is not good. But you can see here, there are, you know what, let me get a little light for you, because that's kind of dark. Okay, so you can see there are no gills, there's no ridges. There's actually really tiny pores. So that is another way you can tell that it's chicken of the woods and not some other mushroom. You can also tell by its shape. It grows in these fan-like shapes or like semicircles. And I mentioned earlier the shelf-like clusters, and what I mean by that is the way this is growing here is kind of on top of one another, right, on layers. And that is the shelf-like, that's what a shelf-like cluster is, right? They're kind of like shelves and they're in clusters. Also, they don't have a stem, or I guess they do, but it's kind of hard to tell, right? I think the mushroom term is, I'm probably saying it wrong, but what I read, again, I was doing mostly reading, was a stipe, S-T-I-P-E. And so they don't have a lot of times they don't have a stipe, or steep, yeah, stipe, I would guess. And sometimes you'll find it though at the base of the tree, which like right here is kind of it, right? Like the stem. So I've seen a lot of pictures of this when it's younger, which actually over here you can see it's more orange. And I already mentioned that, but also it seems to be more soft as it's younger. And as it gets older, it seems to be more stiff, more like crumbly almost. Like as you touch it, it feels like it's going to crumble more than when it's younger. The internet's a great resource when it comes to wanting to learn, wanting to read on things, and that's where I did all of my reading. I'm sure there's plenty of good books out there. I just don't have any books on the topic. But one good resource that I would look into if you're really interested in this, Paul Stamets, I think it's like S-T-A-M-E-T-S, I think is his name. He's a mycologist. He's a very popular one. He's well known in the field of, you know, mushrooms or fungi, I guess. So he knows quite a bit. And I watched a video of his where it was just a few minutes long. It was a short video, but it was him in the Pacific Northwest, it looked like. And he had found a lot of chicken of the woods on a tree. And it was very similar to this, but he was not he was mostly collecting the outsides of it. Let me turn the camera. Mostly collecting like kind of the outside, like 2 inches almost. And the reason is, he said and on here there's clearly a lot of bugs. So I don't even know if this stuff's good yet. We have to cut it open to see, but that's what he would do, is he was cutting this open and he was then seeing, you know, he said the further you get towards the base of it, there's going to be more bugs. You'll see kind of like little tubes almost, like kind of trails. And that's a sign of bugs in there. And clearly there's bugs here. I've seen bugs going all over these. So he's a good resource if you really want to dive into this more. Another common question that I read on Google that people ask a lot is, are there any poisonous or toxic lookalikes to chicken of the woods? Or are there just, what are the lookalikes to chicken of the woods? And there's 2. I know of them both personally. I've actually come across these on the property. The first one being Chanterelles. Chanterelles have a very similar color as this. They're an orangish yellow color, but there's some big differences. The first being the Chanterelles are going to be coming out of the ground. They're not going to be coming out of a fallen log like this. They'll be growing on the ground. The other thing is, they're not going to be growing in these shelf-like clusters like the chicken of the woods is. Chanterelles are going to pop up individually, and they can be close to each other, but they're not going to grow in a big cluster. They're going to be more individual mushrooms. And then the other thing is, under them, they are not smooth like this. Like these, we remember I showed you a little bit ago, under these mushrooms, they didn't have gills, they didn't have ridges, they have really tiny pores. The Chanterelles don't have pores, they don't have gills either, but they have ridges that look, you know, they're just exactly what they are, ridges. So that's the other way to tell between chicken of the woods and the chanterelle. So the chanterelles do not grow in clusters like this, but you can find a whole bunch of them together, right? So like, maybe after this, after I'm done here with the chicken of the woods, I'll go take a look where I found a bunch of chanterelles last year. Hopefully they're there and I can show you them. That would be nice. So then I can kind of show you the difference. But if not, they don't grow in clusters. They're going to grow up out of the ground and they're going to be more spread out. The second lookalike mushroom are jack-o'-lantern mushrooms, which do grow in a cluster. They look very similar to a chanterelle. They're growing in a cluster, not on a log though, like this. But they are toxic and they have gills. They don't have the ridges, they don't have the pores on the underside. They have gills though. And a good way to, I think, to help identify, I do not trust it 100% though, is the app Seek. I've talked about that quite a bit. I really enjoy that app. But again, I would not trust the app 100% because I think if I took a picture of, you know, maybe just one side of this, or if I took a picture of a chanterelle, I don't know. I think it's possible that the app could mix this up with another mushroom, not knowing the habitat that it's in, not knowing its surroundings, because it's just focused in on like one part of the mushroom. So I think the apps are not 100%. So I would not trust that 100%. I would, again, do your research like I have, enough to know that this here is chicken of the woods. The next common question is, how long can you store them for? And across the different things I've read, I would say the most common answer is about 7 to 10 days is best. And you would store that in the fridge. If you wanted to extend that, you could pickle them or you could freeze them. But if you're going to freeze them, I did read it's important to cook them enough to get the water out, because there's a lot of water inside of these. And when you freeze that, it's going to expand and it's going to ruin the texture of the mushrooms. So if you're going to freeze them, make sure you cook them beforehand. I don't have any recipes right now, but we're going to actually have a video on that later, I think. Assuming these are good. Once I cut these open, if I see they're not good, if there's bugs off through it, then we're going to have to find some new chicken of the woods mushrooms. So if that video doesn't come out, that's why. But anyways, that's it for chicken of the woods. I hope I answered any questions you had. And if you didn't have any questions, I hope you learned something. But most importantly, again, I'm not an expert, so do your own research before you start eating mushrooms that you find. just like anything else, you know, you need to do your own research for yourself. So that's it. Here they are. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you like this style of video. This is what I had been planning to do all year, but I just haven't been able to actually do it yet. So I'm planning to do a video like this on a number of things, not just fungi, but on from trees to the different plants, the native plants we have, the non-native plants we have, the invasives, you know, the things that we're trying to get rid of. So I've been planning to do a lot of videos like this. So let me know if you like this. If this is boring, then I'm sorry. It's what I'm into, and we're going to be sharing more of it. So I hope you like it, and please comment below your feedback. Thanks for always supporting us, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, I'm also about to hike up this hill here to look for some chanterelles. So if there are chanterelles, then there's going to be some bonus footage. If there aren't, then this is it. Goodbye. I also realized I forgot to bring I was going to use a bucket to collect that. So I'm not going to be collecting that right now. I'm going to have to get something before I do that. So let's go look for the chanterelles and then come back to that. The chicken of the woods were just up this hill a little bit. But this valley in here, there's some big oaks. But what there's the most of in this whole valley, from here down towards the pond, not quite to the pond, but all through here are witch hazel. This is witch hazel all over. There's just hundreds of them, and hundreds. Really cool. But anyways, oh, another thing. In here there's a whole bunch of fallen logs. When we were kids and we'd get a lot of snow, we would build a fort with these fallen logs. And I remember me and Hannah, we'd play down in this valley for hours and hours, and it was so much fun, especially on snow days. So I'll never forget building some of the coolest forts out of these fallen logs. Alright, I found a bunch of chanterelles. The only problem is they're being choked out by, of course, Japanese stiltgrass. The worst. Get a little closer look in here. Man. Here are chanterelles. Let's look at the underside of them. And you can see the ridges I was talking about. So you see they're coming up out of the ground. Big one there. And over in here. All through here are chanterelles. But again, they are being covered by this stiltgrass, which I do not remember being that bad this year. Or that bad last year. But I see them all through here. All of this orange are the chanterelles. And all in there. This is where I found a whole bunch last year. Over in here. There's a whole bunch where I just showed you, but you could hardly see because of the stiltgrass. There was also a bunch along this trail. There's some. There's some more. Quite a bit of chanterelles. And here's where there's the most. But that stiltgrass is really in the way. Let's just take one little walk in here again. So you can see how they grow very different than the chicken of the woods. But I think that's it, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you can now see the difference in the chanterelles and the chicken of the woods. I don't have any jack-o'-lantern mushrooms right now to show you, but yeah, that's it for the day. So thanks for watching, thanks for being here, and we'll see you on the next video. Alright guys, if you made it this long, good for you. You made it long enough to see this cool little surprise here. I was just scanning the ground like always, looking at stuff, you know, when I'm walking back. And I just found this little white plant here called ghost pipe. Let me turn the camera around for you to see. So this is not a fungi. It is actually a perennial wildflower. But it's unlike any wildflower I've seen, because in texture and in appearance, it does look very similar to a fungi.